Should be live. I had a few technical difficulties, so I'm hoping at least one person can see me and hear me. If you can't, please do let me know. Okay, I think there's a few people joining in. Okay, good. Yeah, sorry guys. I had some technical difficulties. I don't know whether it's because I haven't been on the live for a very, very long time. So, yeah, I was trying to set things up and I tried to set it up on my phone and then my computer and then it just wasn't working. Please, can you know if you are here, can you let me know that you can hear me? Just because I've got earphones in because our dryer's in the background. So I just want to make sure that you guys can hear me at all. Yes, no, can you hear me? Hello, hi Teresa. You can hear me, right? It's all okay? Please do let me know. Yes, can hear you. Oh, great, fabulous. How is everyone? How are you guys? How is your Sunday going? I hope it's been going well. Oh, that's so funny. My mum's joined as well. I won't tell you which one is my mum, but my mum has also joined. Um, yeah, and the dryer a little. Yeah, so sorry. I can't actually pause the dryer. And I asked my husband, why is the dryer on at this time? But yeah, hopefully I will try and drown it out with my voice. But yeah, hope you guys are okay. There's currently 9 of you that's joined at the moment. So how is your Sunday going? My weekend at the moment was going really well because I went to go and visit my family. And then I don't know if you guys follow me on Instagram, but there was like 1 bar left on our car, like for the petrol, and I was trying to find petrol stations and it was absolutely horrific. I think it took me about almost 2 hours trying to find a petrol station and had to end up I wanted to go to like either Asda or Sainsbury's because they're usually cheaper, and they were just completely shut. They weren't letting anyone go in. It was completely shut. Then ended up having to go to BP, and even with BP, it was like the queue. I was literally there for an hour and then finally got through and they didn't have any petrol left. They only had diesel and I needed petrol. So yeah, I was very frustrated at that point in time, especially because I only had 1 bar left. And apparently there are some people that have been taking like 5 gallons to go with them. So yeah, I'm hoping. I mean, we even went today, tried to get petrol today, went to Tesco. We were in the queue. I think we were in Tesco for like 20 minutes to half an hour. We were waiting in the queue, and then someone actually had to come up to us and say, they've run out of petrol now and there's only diesel. So we are now currently struggling with our 1 bar that's now turned to red. So I'm not sure what we're going to do with that. We're going to need to, I think, try and see if we can maybe go early in the morning and see how that goes. So yeah, hope you guys are okay. Yeah, fuel thing is ridiculous. Honestly, it was, yeah, I mean, I know there were some things happening on Friday, so we could tell there was something happening, but I thought, it would get sorted hopefully like by the weekend, but obviously not. Thought it was going to be sorted by Sunday. It wasn't. So yeah, we will see what happens on Monday. But how are you guys doing? Obviously, it's coming towards the end of the month. So how has your month gone? Has it been okay? Have you maybe spent a bit more money than you thought you would? How's your budget been going? Yeah, I blame the media for panic buying. Yeah, because I don't think we probably would have had as many people panic buying if obviously the media didn't come out. So yeah, it's really annoying. Yeah, the lines are absolutely crazy. I mean, there was one petrol station where the line was just too much and I just thought, you know what, I'm not even going to risk it because I might just end up going there and then they tell me that petrol's finished. So yeah, we spent too much. It was my birthday, 12th September, so overspent. Oh, happy birthday for the 12th of September. I hope it went all right, all well. I know, yeah, usually if someone has like a birthday month, typically I think people do tend to spend more. I mean, I think yeah, I tend to budget though for my birthday because my birthday's in January, and actually that's the time when most people are broke anyway because they've spent so much money during Christmas, and then come January everyone's broke and it's like, yeah, a little bit horrific. But I tend to try and like start putting money towards my birthday in January. I don't know if I will do it this year, just because we're married. So I'm hoping my husband will sort something out, and then I'll sort something out for his birthday. So yeah, we'll see. Restarted our savings, paid off last of hubby's overdraft. Oh, congrats, Teresa! That's so good. Yeah, I know the overdraft can be like a lot, and like even when I paid off mine, I was so happy because it was just nice to see it finally not in the minus number and just kind of in the positive number, which was good. Thank you for the compliment. Lesson learned. Yeah, yeah, if you can, I would just try and plan for it in advance, and just even like sorry, my earrings are going all over the place, but even just maybe think about starting to put some money aside, like even if it's a year before, so it doesn't really feel that painful, or even if it's like 6 months before. That usually helps for me. The UK is bad vibes. There's no food and petrol. Yeah, honestly, like the food, because we were supposed to go shop, like we wanted to go shopping this weekend, and we were gonna go on Saturday. No, today, and obviously we couldn't because we don't have any petrol. But there's been times when we have gone to the shops and there's just not been as much food as we would like, so we've just had to be a bit creative, and it doesn't help with like all this inflation that's going on. It's just all a bit crazy at the moment. But yeah, it's just about, I guess we've just got to stick it out. And like obviously, if you're from the UK, and like the effects of Brexit are kind of happening at the moment. So yeah, it's a really interesting time. I will be interested to see sort of what happens during winter. I feel like there are some fears that there may be shortages, leading up to Christmas. So I'm going to be interested to see sort of what happens with prices and things like that. And if we're only having fuel shortages now, come winter, I'm like praying that we're okay. So yeah, we'll see. Also paid off his secret debt. Teresa, what do you mean by secret? Did he not talk about it before? Oh, he didn't tell me he got credit with PayPal earlier this year. Right. Okay. Well, it's good that he's paid it off now, at least. I think what you'll probably just be thinking about is just ensuring that he doesn't maybe get into debt again. Because it's one thing, obviously, paying off, but I think some people forget that, where behavior changes, if you haven't really changed your mindset, then you could potentially get back into debt, and obviously you don't want that as well. So yeah, just yeah, I'd maybe have a chat and see what his mindset is saying at the moment. Yes, lockdown will be interesting this winter. Yeah, it will. I mean, obviously, I'm kind of obviously hoping that we won't have lockdown, but at the moment, I spend most of my time at home anyway, unless I obviously have to travel up to work, which I do once a week now. So I have been doing that, but usually I kind of like being at home. But obviously, it would be nice to at least be able to go out when you want to. So we'll see. Oh, he opened his mail. Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. It might be good to have a conversation and just, yeah, make sure that there aren't any other debts sort of lying around, or like any credit cards that might be lying around, or store cards as well, because there's the store cards as well that you need to be careful of. So yeah. So is 20,500 a good salary for someone who is 22 years of age? It's my first proper office job. Fun fact, that is basically how much I earned in my first job. And I think I was 22 actually at that point. So I earned 20,000, and I was a recruitment consultant. I feel like this was years ago. It's actually not been that long, but I was a recruitment consultant, and my base salary was 20 grand. And then we also had commissions after that, obviously, depending on if you made deals, basically. So yeah, I think if you're starting out, the one thing I would say is, for me, it's all about just getting the experience, but then also starting, after maybe like a year or two, then you might want to start thinking about, okay, now that I've got like a year's experience, if they're not looking to increase my salary, or maybe you might not be getting a promotion that quickly, you might then want to start thinking about moving employers, because you've now got that experience. So that's kind of something that I did. In terms of me, I actually went back to do my master's rather than go straight into a job. But then after that master's, that's then I went to get my other job, and I went from 20 grand to 27 and a half. So yeah, that's something that I would say that might be good to consider. Is someone cleaning? No, It's the dryer. So we put and I can't stop the dryer. So usually when the washing machine is washing, it's a washer dryer. So when the washing machine is washing, then it's fine. I can pause it, but when it's drying, I can't. So yeah, I really regret not having like tried to pause it whilst it was washing. So I was hoping that I can drown out the sound and that you guys maybe can't hear it. But yeah, apologies if you can still hear it. He's been well and truly told off. Yeah, yeah. I think it's good to just have a chat. Just make sure there's nothing else going on, and then hopefully go from there. What is your view on the NI increase coming next year, and how can people mitigate this? So yeah, it's obviously something. It's something where I wasn't too surprised at, just based on the fact that there was kind of concerns about tax rises in the first place anyway. So it's something where, and because they hadn't necessarily mentioned it in like the past, what was it called? Rishi Sunak, when he was kind of doing his announcement ages ago, before people thought that we'd have tax rises, but he didn't necessarily talk about that. So I'm actually not too surprised. Obviously, it does mean that inevitably people are going to need to pay more towards their national insurance, but if you're currently working, there's nothing you can really do to stop that, because it's particularly like when you look at your paycheck, you're going to be paying for your taxes and then you're going to be paying for national insurance anyway. The way other people may mitigate this is, for example, if they are working through a limited company, or they're maybe a director in a limited company, some of them may not pay as much national insurance. So yeah, I'm definitely not an accountant, by the way. So yeah, make sure, if you're in a limited company, obviously do your research with that. But from an employee perspective, it's quite difficult to mitigate it. But again, it's going to be something where it comes out of your paycheck anyway. So when you do get your pay, you see that obviously national insurance has increased by a bit. But I think again, it's quite difficult at this point in time as well, because we will have that. Plus, you've also got inflation as well. So essentially, our pounds or dollars are less in value compared to when we're now paying for different things, like whether it be like food or anything. So it's going to be quite tough, I would say. So again, the one thing I would say is you either want to think about maybe increasing your income during that time, so that maybe it doesn't feel as if the pressure is that much. But then also, again, having a budget, looking through your spending, just making sure that you're actually prioritizing what you're paying for, and you're actually spending again intentionally and things like that. So yeah, it's obviously a shame, but it's something where I'm not too surprised at. So it's just something you've just got to take under the chin and keep going. Would you do videos on jobs? We haven't seen one in ages. Oh yeah, do you know what? The reason why I haven't done a video on jobs is because I wasn't sure what people actually want to see. Because obviously, some of you guys might not know that I do come from a HR background, and I used to be a recruitment consultant. So I started my channel actually more focusing on that instead of personal finance. I do think they link quite good together, but it's just because a lot of people engaged more with my personal finance videos than my career videos. So I kind of then just stopped doing them. But if there's any like specific questions that you guys want to know when it comes to jobs, I can definitely do a video on that, or careers, or things like increasing your income and things like that. I can definitely do it. I used to work in like talent as well. So if you are looking for like trying to get promotions and stuff, I can also like do a video on that if you want as well. I'm on an apprenticeship right now, so my wage will go up to 28k after my apprenticeship. Oh, fabulous. Yeah, apprenticeships are really, I think they're now starting to get really popular. I think before they weren't as popular because I don't think a lot of people knew a lot about them, but I know that now people are actually starting to really recommend apprenticeships as well. So it's fabulous to know that it's going to go up to 28k, which is really good. The budget. Thank you for reminding me. I was thinking like, the announcement, the budget. Hey Eva, no worries. I think we only just started about 15 minutes ago, and I had a few technical difficulties anyway. But yeah, so I guess what I kind of wanted to maybe talk about today is just, I guess, in terms of like personal finances, maybe even just asking you guys sort of what kind of topics you guys are might be interested in. So obviously I know that I did a poll asking you guys, you know, if you'd be interested in certain topics, and I know some of them was to do with like money management, so like budgeting and saving, and then there was quite a few people asking about like growing your wealth, so things like investing, and then another one about like side hustles, which obviously side hustles is an interesting one because it's only something that I've recently been doing over the past year, so it's something that I'm still learning, but I'm still happy to kind of give my views and give tips as well, particularly if you guys are looking to start side hustles just on the side. And I think maybe link to that, I will link that to maybe growing your income in general. So I might do videos on like getting promotions or increasing your income throughout your job, if that's something that you guys are interested in. So yeah, let me know. How to stop impulse buying. Also, hubby and I pay ourselves first, and every time I get my share, I want to spend it. Yeah, it's yeah, okay. That's a good one actually. So impulse buying might be a good one. I think with that, a big thing for me is kind of like a mindset shift, because I think, you know, I could literally tell you like, okay, cut like, I don't know, unsubscribe from emails or something. But some of that stuff, like, it's good to know and they're good tips and tricks. But I feel like if you don't necessarily change what's going on inside here, then you probably end up doing the same thing over and over again. So yeah, I can definitely give some tips in terms of what I've personally done to stop impulse buying, because I used to impulse buy actually quite a lot. And I think I mentioned this in like one of my videos. I secretly think, right, guys, I actually secretly think I am a spender. And now that may be surprising because we save a lot of money, but I secretly think that I'm a spender and my husband is a saver, because just some of the behaviors that I have kind of changed, I realize it's because I've come from a spending mentality. So yeah, so all the spenders out there, hey, like, don't worry, I'm here too. But yeah, it's obviously something where I've just had to like practice and like create systems to stop me from doing things like impulse spending. Like, the worst thing I used to do is, if I saw things on sale, I would just buy them because they were on sale. Like, I didn't need them, but I just like have a whole load of clothes where I didn't need them. There was no reason why I bought them. Literally just because I saw like they were 50% off or 70% off. That's what I used to do. So yeah, it was quite bad. So yeah, if you're a spender out here, trust me, I'm here. I know how you feel. So yeah, I can definitely do a video on that. Food challenges are fun. Yeah, I know. I do really want to do some food challenges. Yeah. Again, the like little problem I have is if I say like, oh yeah, I want to do like a £15 food budget challenge or like $15, my husband is not going to want to do that. So what I need to do is it's like I'm gonna have to do like my own food challenge, and then like we'll have his food separately, or I just try and do the food shopping, because we usually do the food shopping together. Like we'll usually go together, but maybe I'll just say, you know, I'll do the food shopping for one day, and then maybe I'll just secretly do a food challenge and see if he actually notices it. That's going to be a bit hard because he also watches my live, so yeah, we'll see how that goes. um I know I'm doing it, but I can't stop myself. Yeah, exactly. So I'll try and give some tips that I've been able to use, and hopefully that can pre-purchasing helps. Yeah. What do you mean by pre-purchasing? Like, it'd be good to know that tip actually. What platform do you recommend to invest in stocks? I was thinking Vanguard, but I am not sure. So I can't tell you what platform like to use, because it's going to depend. It's really going to depend on your personal circumstances. It's going to depend on your risk tolerance and things like that. So for me, what I would say is think about, a lot of people kind of miss it and realize that they don't need, a lot of people don't realize that they need to think about their own main goals before they start thinking about things like the platforms. But there are quite a lot of good kind of big platforms out there. So Vanguard, a lot of people really do like Vanguard, particularly if you're just looking to do a lot of passive investing. Vanguard is a really good option. There's obviously other platforms like Harvey's Lansdowne, depending if you are looking for individual companies. Same with things like AJ Bell. So definitely like do your research with these. Like, obviously, I always say I'm not a financial advisor and I don't tell people what to invest in, but there are a lot of platforms. Obviously, there's ones that I use, like Trading 212. At the moment, though, they have changed their terms and conditions, so it's kind of a bit of a weird one, because obviously I'm still invested in them, but I don't know whether I would invest my ISA in them next year, just because they've just done so many changes, and I'm kind of like, why are you doing all these changes? So that's why I always say, like, make sure you do your research, make sure it's something that you're comfortable with. But like big platforms like Vanguard, Hargreaves Lansdown, they're like really big ones. So yeah, it really depends what your goals are, to be honest. Impulse buying comes from feelings. Yeah, when you're feeling excited, when you're feeling down, when you worked hard and think you deserve to buy something nice, etc. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, very similar to when people like have retail therapy as well. Like if they maybe feel upset and then they feel like they need to go out and buy stuff, you know. So you need to like kind of realize why you're doing it, and kind of, again, it's all about the mindset. You have to discover which feelings trigger impulse buying. Exactly. For me, it was boredom. Yeah, Eva. I think I was probably similar, to be honest. And I think I just had the mindset that if anything's on sale, then I'm getting a good deal and that I should buy it now. Whereas I've not necessarily saved money, I've spent money. So yeah, once I realized that, that's when things just started to change. Is the training 212 queue over yet? The Reddit versus Wall Street fiasco was insane. Yeah, I actually don't know. I think they are still doing a waiting list, because I haven't heard of people being able to sign up. But again, like, I know they've injected a lot of cash, which was good, but they changed their terms and conditions like 2 or 3 times this year, and that's not, like, usually companies won't do that. They won't change it so often. So it was really strange that they were changing it so often. So yeah, I'm kind of like, I will still use it. Personally, for me, I will still use it, but I'm probably not going to put as much money into it. Like, I won't put like my whole life savings. I wasn't going to put my whole life savings into my investments anyway. But it's something where I'm still kind of figuring out what exactly they're doing. So again, that's why I always say make sure you're doing your research, because yeah, you want to make sure that you're putting your money in the right place, essentially. I think it would be great to get your take on how to manage inflation in your budget, particularly how to accept needing to increase spending on essential areas. That's a good one, actually. I'm going to note that down. Yeah, particularly even maybe just a bit of education on inflation, and then maybe how to deal with your budget in terms of inflation, because essentially they're going to be things that you probably want to prioritize and just kind of rejig your budget there. But you know, it's I know people say that inflation is, well, the Bank of England said that it's going to be short term, but you know, you always want to prepare yourself if you do think that inflation actually will be here for the long term, which essentially, like, the government usually does like inflation, but usually around like 2%. Now that we're thinking like it's probably going to be like 4%, that's a bit much. So we do need to be careful. I think I spend the money because I have it. I used to be able to control it, but this past weekend I just wanted to spend. Yeah, I think it'd be good to kind of deep dive on just why you would want to spend it, because essentially when I have money, as soon as I get paid, my money has already been put into different places. So the amount of money I have to spend, that's all I have to spend for the month. And if I end up spending that money, then I'll be eating noodles for the rest of the month, just because I've prioritized other things. So yeah, it'd be good to know. It'd be good to know why exactly you want to spend. What about buying assets? Yes, exactly. I began to buy shares that pay dividends. Every time I receive a dividend, I reinvest it, and it does feel great. Yeah, same for me. I would like it's now. I now feel like I love spending money on my savings and investments. I don't know if that makes sense, but this is literally like how I see spending money. Like, I literally just treat it as another bill, and it kind of just goes, and yeah, that's it. The rest is money. I can do what I like. I bought some bits to make our house look nice. I love decor. Oh, that's good. Again, I think it's just all about planning for it. So if you know that you want to do something for your house, if there's something that you're interested in buying, it's all just about planning for it. What's your best advice for a teenager to be in a good position when they are older? Well, The number one thing I would say is you are very lucky if you are at a teenager age, because I wish I was in that position. The one thing I would probably say is just start learning about personal finance basics. So literally just kind of living within your means. Like when you get paid, try and, like, if you start working, for example, even if you start having a part-time job, just start putting money aside and just start building those habits. If you start to build these core foundation habits, by the time you get to my age and even older, like you'll honestly be laughing. And even just things like investing as well. Like the younger you are, the more you can probably take a bit more calculated risk. So if you do want to start learning, you know, especially if you don't have like a lot of bills and things like that, and you do have a lot of spare money, you can think about having some savings, and then you can maybe start thinking about investing some of that money. But again, obviously you can do a lot of research when it comes to investing. But yeah, if you're a teenager, then I'm very jealous, because I did not think about my personal finances when I was a teenager at all. I just thought about spending whatever money I had, even when I started working. So I think I got my first job in like when I was, I want to say 17 or 18. It was before I was going to university, and I didn't save a penny. Like I even thought like, oh, maybe I should save money for university. I didn't save anything. I spent it all. I didn't even make that much anyway. I was pretty much working on minimum wage. I was working for the perfume shop. Fun fact if you didn't know. But yeah, I literally just spent all of my money and carried that on until university. So yeah, that was my life. I love decoration too. Just don't fill the house with dust keepers. My grandma told me that. Yeah, that's a good idea, Eva. How do you budget for Christmas? So I create a sinking fund for Christmas. So basically, all I do is I have a goal at the start of the year, and then I say this is how much I want to save for Christmas. How much does that mean every single month? And I kind of like have like a calculator. So if you've got like my budget template, you'll see like a sinking funds calculator. Essentially, I will say, okay, I have like 11 months to save up for Christmas, and then divide it by those 11 months, and then literally just put money aside every single month. And so it doesn't really hurt me, because it's literally like 10 to 20 pounds a month. I mean, essentially, I'd put quite a lot of money in the beginning of this year, where it essentially meant that I'd already saved up enough for Christmas, so I don't actually need to save up anymore, which is good. But yeah, that's essentially how I save for Christmas. So my money is pretty much all set. I've got like a Christmas pot in my account, and as soon as I come to start buying presents, which actually I feel like maybe now would be a good time to start buying presents before the deals come out, when they're not necessarily deals because they bumped up the price because it's Christmas. I feel like maybe I should start buying Christmas presents now. Although it's really annoying because people don't really know what they want during this time, so then you can't. So yeah, but if you can, it's a good tip, I would say. Um, Bought a larger duvet to make the bed look nice, which meant new bedding. Oh yeah, I shouldn't have gone to Dunelm. Do you know what? We went to Dunelm when we first moved into this place, because we had to put some money because we had to furnish our flat. Dunelm was basically our best friend as well, actually, when it came to bedding. And also with bedding, we didn't really want to be too cheap, because actually the materials that they use, like, you want to be able to sleep in a nice bed. So yeah, Dunelm is actually quite good with that. And this was the first time I think I'd shopped in Dunelm actually as well. And their prices aren't too bad. They're not too expensive. So I thought it wasn't too bad at all. Yes, I did do a video about sinking funds. Yes, thank you, Eva. Yeah, I talk about how to, yeah, exactly. Eva's like, Eva, do you want to be my manager? Because you already know everything. But yeah, no, I have done a video, and I talk about, you know, budgeting for like birthdays and anniversaries. I do like a step-by-step process as well. So yeah, definitely check that out. B is my spending money, so I guess that's why I want to spend it. Yeah, but I think for me, it's like, if I know that I have spending money, that money is there to be spent. It's not there to be saved. I'm not one of those. I feel like I may be a little bit unconventional in that if the money is there to be spent, it's there to be spent. I'm not going to go and say like, okay, no, you should like cut everything out and just save everything. Like I wouldn't say that. Like for me, once I know that I put my savings and investments aside, like, and obviously paid my bills, pay your bills, guys, pay your bills as well. But once I've done that, like I will freely spend my money, and I think that's why I don't feel so restricted when it comes to my budgeting. just because I've already like created a system where I allocate everything to the right places, and then I can just spend my money. And if the money's spent, then it's spent. So yeah, send your money elsewhere before you have a chance to spend it. Exactly, like your savings account. Exactly. And when I started budgeting, actually, I did have different accounts. I even had like a separate saving account just for me to start building that habit, because I never really saved money before. I really struggled with saving money, so I kind of had to do that. And now I'm at the point where I can literally have my savings in the same account and I still won't touch it because I've just built those habits over time. Is your holiday car the worst financial mistake you have made? Yes. Yes, definitely. I would say the holidays, because obviously I used my overdraft to pay for that, so I didn't have money to be spending and it wasn't my money. So definitely the holidays, and that was at university. The car, yes, yes and no. I feel like the car was a big mistake in that, number one, I financed it when I feel like if I knew that I could just save up and like pay cash, I definitely would have done that. But then also I didn't need to buy, I could have bought a car that was maybe like 3, 4 years old, that was a lot cheaper, that maybe I didn't need to spend as much money on, because like I just saw a car, I just really wanted the Ford Fiesta and I just really wanted to get that. But yeah, but at that point in time, to be honest, I probably wouldn't have had a choice, because the day before I was picking up my new car, I got into a car accident. And my car, because I had like a Peugeot, it was like a car that I'd been driving for since I'd like a year after I'd passed my test. So I'd had it for years, and I ended up getting into a car accident and the whole car was written off. So yeah, I would have needed the car anyway, because I had to drive to work. Like I can't take I couldn't take public transport to work where I was working. So I essentially needed the car. But what I probably would have done is, even if I did have to finance a car, I wouldn't have financed such an expensive car. I would have maybe financed a car that was like maybe a couple of grand, and then literally try to just pay that off as soon as possible. So yeah, that's kind of how I would go about it now. Obviously, the best thing for me is just like saving up and then just paying cash for it. But if I was to the point, and obviously you do have people where they generally don't have the cash for it, what I would have done is just not bought an expensive car, just buy like a car that I know that's not going to need to be fixed that much. So I wouldn't buy too much of an old car, but I'd buy a car that's a few years old, that still has a few years like where it's fine, like it's not going to break down, but then literally like pay it off as soon as possible. So yeah, that was, yeah, probably one of my biggest mistakes, I would say. Hey, I just joined. What's been happening? Thank you for joining. Yeah, we've just been chatting. I've just been answering questions, been talking about inflation, been talking about petrol and things like that. So yeah, welcome to the chat. Before getting into your career, did you work in retail or any customer facing role? Yes, I did. So, as I mentioned, my first job, which was, again, I think I was either 17 or 18 years old, it was just before I went to uni. That was at the perfume shop. So, I worked there during summer and then went off to university. No. Actually, no. I worked there. No, yeah, I did. Then I had my first year in university. I didn't work in uni in my first year. Came back to work in summer, and I actually ended up working for Free, so the mobile network. So I was working as like a sales consult. I don't even remember what we were called, but basically I worked in the Free store, and that was really interesting. I would say I learned a lot. I learned to have grit, because you do have a lot of people that come to you that just aren't happy with the purchase, and they'll start shouting at you, or you obviously have, it's a sales role as well, so you're obviously trying to sell like phone contracts and things. So I learned a lot about like phone contracts during that time, so I was really grateful actually. But yeah, I learned a lot of grit, because yeah, sales is not for everyone. That's what I would say. But it is a good skill to have, I think, so it was quite useful. And then at university, my final year, I didn't work in retail, but I worked in the uni's career department. So I was working as an assistant then in my final year. So yeah, I've worked in retail. Oh, but in uni I also was like a representative for like Virgin Media. I did that for like a few months where we were basically like selling Virgin Media like internet contracts for students. So yeah, I've tried a lot, I would say. Yeah, it's been interesting. I've had an interesting career, I would say, which is funny. Um, Potential pays. Oh yeah, sinking funds, not pre-purchasing. Yeah, exactly, sinking funds. Um, the African mentality does not really encourage you to save. Yeah, I mean exactly, and especially because if you are, we can be quite image focused as well, because we want to be able to show the parties, and it seems like people are doing well, but I think I just always question, are we actually doing well in terms of just showing the nice cars or the nice house or the nice events? But if I was to look at your net worth statement, for example, am I going to get something completely different? So yeah, there's a big difference between looking and acting rich, for example, and actually being wealthy, which is something that I then realized and then understood that actually a lot of people are living paycheck to paycheck, and a lot of people are broke, and even people probably at my work that are earning six figures, they are also probably living paycheck to paycheck as well. So yeah, it's really interesting. Yes, B. All other money is accounted for. Debts are being paid off. Savings put aside. Bills paid. The money me and hubby allocate to ourselves is our spending money. I just get annoyed. I buy too much. Well, I wouldn't feel too bad then if you know that that's all been allocated and that money is allocated for spending. Then I wouldn't necessarily feel bad if that's what you budgeted for. Obviously, it depends. If you know that you are saving and paying off debts as much as you can, and that's taking priority, then yeah, I wouldn't have a problem with spending. But obviously, it just depends on like what percentages are going towards each category. Having a separate account for bills made my life so much easier. Yeah, and literally that's how I started. I had like one account for bills. I had one account that was separate for savings, and then I had my Monzo account, which I then used for my spending. So yeah, now at the moment we have slightly changed it. So we use our Monzo for both bills and spending. But what we do is with our bills, essentially we put them in a separate pot. And so what Monzo will do is like, it's called like our essential bills pot. And what Monzo will do is the direct debits that come out, the direct debits will essentially just come straight out from that pot instead. So we don't necessarily see it. And then what we really budget for is our spending money in our Monzo. So that's how we do it. We have a separate account for the majority of bills. Yeah, exactly. That's good. It just, yeah, for me, it just makes it a lot easier. What's the highest graduate salary you have heard of? Maybe like 50K. I wouldn't say like 50K. I know some like graduate schemes, especially in like the banking industry, theirs is like around 50K, like just a starting salary. So yeah. So if you're ever interested in things like banking, that potentially could be a way to go. Retail is a roller coaster. Honestly, you learn so much in retail. You learn a lot. But yeah, I'm in fact still thankful for the experience. I mean, there was one time where like my assistant manager, someone actually spat on her face, like when I was working at Free. Like it was mad. Like it was crazy. So yeah, you do learn a lot. You learn to be very resilient, but I feel like that's kind of helped me in my career as well, which is good. But I've also had like, and I think that's also been good because like I struggled, like if you guys have seen like my career story, I really struggled to even get like a graduate job. Like I didn't get any graduate schemes or anything like that. I like got rejected so many times. So yeah, but it's something where I just kept, but because I'd been rejected in sales, I kind of then used that as like an opportunity to say, do you know what, just keep on going. And yeah, eventually I landed in my job. Even though I didn't get a graduate scheme, I essentially still had like a role, and they still kind of treated me like a graduate scheme, but I was getting paid more because I'd gone into an entry level role. So actually it was really good for me. So yeah, I worked in retail. Some customers were so rude. Yeah, they can They can be. Yeah, retail is it's not for the faint-hearted, but you learn a lot. So yeah, one time a customer had to go at me because their card was declined. Yeah, honestly, like a lot of people, yeah, if and it's quite difficult as well because you kind of then take it personally, but you realize that it's actually just based on their situation. But yeah, unfortunately, they take it out on you. Before buying something, give yourself a minimum of 24 hours. Yep, don't visit shops, avoid Amazon and other online retailers. Basically, you have to create a system to avoid buying in excess. Yes, definitely. And yeah, there are just small things that you could potentially do, just like not looking at different sites, for example, not looking at like email subscriptions, because every time, like, there was one, I think it's just recently, like I signed up because I wanted to get a code from New Look. And then literally as soon as I signed up, that's when the email started coming through like 70% off, sale now on, sale ends at this time. And I was just like, okay, I just need to unsubscribe from this because otherwise I'm just going to end up spending the money and I don't want to do that. So yeah, had two customers nearly have a fist fight in front of me. Wow. Right. Okay. Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah. Yeah. But again, we learn from these experiences. So yeah, it's shocking. They were arguing who was being served next. Said he'd see the other one outside. Wow. I told them to stop or you won't serve either of them. Yeah, I know. It's dealing with customers. It can be hard at times. Sometimes you do get really nice customers as well. So it's, yeah, you kind of get like the best of both worlds. Should I live in a house share or get my own place? I've been living in a house share for about 4 months and it's okay, but I would really like my own place. But Manchester is expensive nowadays. It's really going to depend on your own goals and yeah, again, it's always down to your personal circumstances. So for me personally, I did live in house share. I was thinking about living on my own, but I would potentially have to pay a lot more to live on my own at that point. So I decided to live in the house share. And I trying to remember, I think I lived there for more than a year. I think maybe like a year and a half. And then I actually ended up becoming a lodger at someone else's family house to save even more money so that I could pay off my debt. So yeah, I decided I was gonna kind of sacrifice just not living on my own at the point in time. I mean, when I got my house share, I at least had my own bathroom. So the only thing I was sharing was the kitchen, the kitchen, the living room. But because I was always going to work anyway, I didn't necessarily mind. So yeah, it's going to depend on like what you value more. Like, do you value your own privacy more, or do you value like being able to like save for something more? So yeah, it really depends on your own circumstances. I would stay in the share home for the moment, to be honest. Wait until COVID-19 settles down. Yeah, there's also going to be small things like, whether you have an emergency fund, do you have a secure job where you know that, there's nothing that's really going to affect, then there's not going to be any changes like in the next year. Just questions like that you might want to think about. What started you in your financial journey? Was it something big? Um, Yeah, it's a really good question. It wasn't necessarily big. So I'd already basically financed my car, already had the overdraft, and I was kind of just going to work. And so I'd been working at my new place for like a couple of months, and I'm originally from London, but because I wasn't living in London, because my work was outside London, I had a lot of free time on my hands. So I kind of just started, learning. I'm one of those people where I'm like a high achiever, so I always want to continue learning. Like even within my own work, I always want to try and build habits and start learning. And so I started just kind of researching. I think it was just on YouTube, and it was just like random videos on like how to build wealth. And then I started hearing about this term like financial independence, and I was just like, what is this? What new world is this? And then started reading like Rich Dad Poor Dad, and then that basically changed my life, I would say. It was huge, and like I've got links to those books in like the books that I read in the description below. But essentially that kind of changed my mindset, and then I realized, oh my gosh, this is actually how people build wealth. They basically buy assets, and that pays for their lifestyle essentially. And so I then just went through a rabbit hole. And at the same time, actually, my church was focusing on personal finances as well, because they were also trying to encourage people to not be in debt, for example, and to just kind of live within their means. And so it was almost kind of like a snowball effect where all these messages were coming together. And obviously, because I'm a woman of faith, I felt like God was speaking to me essentially. And then I was like, wow, I realized that I do need to change my finances. And then the one thing I did, and it's something that I talk about actually, there's a free guide that like I think I've linked in my description. But the first thing I did, which I include in that guide, is essentially doing like a financial audit and understanding exactly what my finances were like. And then when I did my net worth statement, and then I saw that I basically had a minus net worth and I didn't have any assets at all, didn't have any savings, didn't have anything, that's when I realized, wow, like I was in shock. And then that's when I just thought, you know what, I need to change. And so I decided to start learning about things. I started networking. I did a lot, I'd say, because I had a lot of free time as well, because I wasn't seeing my friends as often because I wasn't in London. I essentially spent time educating myself as much as possible. The amount of books like I have is ridiculous. And I was going to like different events as well. I was like going to network events as well, because I really just wanted to understand like how people have built wealth and what they're currently doing, and what strategies that they've been doing. And so I kind of then put that all into my own sort of system. It was a bit hard actually, because at the time a lot of the content was very US based, and it was kind of hard to then say, okay, how does that apply to another country like the UK? Because they were talking about things like 401ks, and I was like, well, we don't have a 401k, so it's like a pension and things like that. So I had to do a lot of research just to figure it out, and then kind of essentially make myself my own roadmap. And then just started following it to the T, and then started thinking about what can I do next to actually reach financial independence. And yeah, that's kind of here where I am now. So now I'm at the point where I'm trying to accelerate that even more. So I've now started obviously still reading more, but I also joined like memberships like Financial Joy Academy. Again, if you guys are interested, the links are in the description. But like joined that, and then started working with a coach as well to really start thinking about how I can accelerate everything that I have been doing. So yeah, that's essentially my story in a few minutes. Um, are you balling? No, I am not balling. Like, if you mean like, have I got money coming in every single month? No way. But what I've essentially done is the money that I have, I've been able to just create systems where I can still save and invest as much as I want. And now I'm trying to accelerate that even more. But yeah, I find it interesting because you do still see people that are earning like tens of thousands, but they're still living paycheck to paycheck. So for me, it's not necessarily about the money you make, it's about the money you keep. So yeah, that's kind of my perspective. Do you do you use my spatula? Yeah, honestly, yeah, living in a house share, I'm not gonna lie, it's not for the faint-hearted. Like there were it's not it's a sacrifice. I will say that it is a sacrifice. I mean, it's not like very glamorous. Obviously, if you've got really nice housemates, then it's amazing. But there's always that one housemate that, I mean, yeah, we'll leave it at that. Maybe that's a story for another time. Between December 2020 and July 2021, I went to 17 interviews. I then decided to go on a sabbatical and trust in God and relax from LinkedIn. The following month, a company reached out looking for an executive. They hired me after I put my foot down and refused an interview. I say this to say, please don't give up with the job searches. Keep your head up and believe in yourself to be vigilant and resilient. 100%. And congratulations as well. Like, I definitely know how it feels to be rejected, because I applied for so many graduate schemes and I went to a lot of interviews and assessment centers, and yeah, they'd essentially say like, oh, you were great, but we don't think you'd fit into like the culture, or just something like that. And it was just really frustrating. But you've got to keep your head up high and keep going, and try and be creative and try different things. Like, I decided to do like a bit of temporary work, so I like ended up working as like an admin assistant, but I was working in HR departments because I really wanted to try and get that experience. So sometimes you've just got to be a bit creative. And yeah, that's how I was able to land my job. I wanted to see more UK-based YouTubers in finance, so I found this channel. Yeah, I know. There's a lot of us now, though, to be fair, because I think when I first started, when I was looking, the only two I kind of saw were like Mama Furfur and the Humble Penny, and they were absolutely amazing. So I was really kind of like following them, and they were like my main inspirations. But now there's actually quite a lot of us, and there's ones where I've even collaborated with. So if you guys don't know, I've collaborated with Tolu Frimpong. So if you've got like an interest in things like budgeting, she's a really good channel. Finance D as well. So if you're looking for like specifically investing, and if you're interested in Vanguard, she does a lot of her Vanguard portfolios. And Yvonne Duma, also, if you're interested in things like food budget challenges, she's really good for that, because I think she did like a week's budget on like living like £1 a day or something like that. So yeah, if you guys want like specific channels as well, definitely check those channels out, because yeah, I absolutely love them. I watch a lot of Dave Ramsey, but love watching you and the Humble Penny because you're UK based. Yeah, I used to watch Dave Ramsey a lot as well. And especially when I was trying to pay off my debt, I would literally just binge watch his shows, and that would give me motivation, just seeing how many other people had a lot of debt and like the advice they were giving. The only thing is that there are some things that I don't necessarily agree with, like in terms of his kind of investing strategy, I don't necessarily agree with. But when it comes to like just like getting your emergency fund and paying off debt, I definitely I absolutely loved it. So yeah, I think it's quite useful there. Getting so many rejections can be daunting, but your dreams won't work unless you do. Yeah, exactly. And it's kind of like a compound effect, because you still continue to keep being resilient, but it can be very tough. I remember even just having like a breakdown to my mum. Like my mum will probably remember when I just kept getting rejected and all my friends were getting jobs, and I was like, well, what about me? Like in uni, I was like trying so hard, and but you know, I kind of feel like if I didn't have that, I wouldn't be where I am today. So yeah, I'm definitely thankful. Kids will cost you. Yes, I know. I'm one of those people where I love planning as well. So I'm literally like, sometimes I will go down the rabbit hole and I'll be like, okay, how much your nursery fee is going to start costing? You know, how much is it going to cost to feed the children and all of that stuff? And yeah, so I start calculating, thinking, okay, how much are we going to need to earn? Or like how much money are we going to be making each month for us to basically still live on the same lifestyle, even if you include kids? So I like to do plans like that, because they can be expensive. There are several personal finance creators in the UK. Yep, from Mama Furfur, Pretty Penny, Panda Boss. Yeah, there's a lot nowadays. Have watched Mama Furfur but hadn't heard of Panda Boss. I've seen a few of those. Yeah, there's quite a lot of us going around now. Dave Ramsey is completely out of touch. Yeah, I mean, like I don't actually watch his content anymore. I know that his channel kind of like, there's certain things that like changed in his channel. I used to watch him a lot more when I was like, so it would have been like a year ago, like before, like a year, 2 years ago, when I was really trying to pay off my debt. So I've not really seen what he's been talking about now. Yeah, but he does mention about rice and beans. So yeah. I don't agree with the snowball debt. It makes more sense to pay off the highest interest debt than the smallest owed. I think it really, for me, I always say it just depends on your, like, what's comfortable for you and your own personal circumstances. For a lot of people, they will probably want the snowball just because they like having that quick win. Particularly if like your highest interest is a lot of debt and it feels like it's going to take ages for you to get rid of it, that snowball might be the best. But then for a lot of other people, like for me, I actually did the avalanche method because it just made sense for me, because I only had 2 debts and one of them wasn't charging interest rate yet. So for me, it made sense to do the avalanche. But again, I always say it's never that clear cut. It's always going to depend on sort of your risk tolerance. What do you feel like you value more? And then you kind of go from there. Beans and rice. Dave Ramsey, although a bit radical, is good at helping Americans get out of debt. Exactly. It's brutal the amount of debt Americans are comfortable. I 100% agree. I think, he can be quite controversial in other things, but I think if you're looking to pay off your debt, I would definitely be saying that Dave Ramsey is the place to go. or me, because I have debt videos as well. So if you want to learn how to pay off your debt, then there's always me, because I've also been through it. Beans rice. I remember when the caller had 1 million. I know, in student loans in the US, the UK could never. Oh, I know, and I'm so thankful actually, because our student loan system is so different than the US. Obviously, if you are from the US, then yeah, I'd probably pay for my student loans personally. But in the UK, our systems are very different. So yeah, because their student debts are they're a lot. What do you think about paying off student finance? So yeah, again, if you're from the UK, it's quite different, and it will. I have a video as well, actually. I think it's called Student Finance UK. I'll make sure I'll probably like put the link in my description, but it all depends on things like the level of income and whether you're going to end up paying it off, because it like depending on what plan you're on, it will probably get written off in 30 years, specifically on if you're like on plan 2. So for me personally, I don't plan on paying off my student loan until I get to the point where, if my income has increased drastically and it looks like I'm going to end up paying it off, then I would probably consider paying it off earlier. But at the moment, based on my income, I probably wouldn't end up paying it off. So again, yeah, it's going to depend on your income and things like that. But I would say, if you have other debts, I personally would be prioritizing that, particularly if you have like high interest debts as well. But yeah, again, depends on your personal circumstances. Wow, this time has gone really quickly, guys. Like, it's almost 8 o'clock, so it has gone completely crazy. The student debts are unjustified, and let's not begin to talk about the medical expenses. Oh gosh, in the US, yeah, most bankruptcies happen due to medical expenses. It's so true. Like, yeah, it's why I'm thankful when we have things like the NHS, because they like have to take into consideration medical bills, but then also student loans. And even when they have when they get in properties as well, like, although we pay for things like council tax, they've got things like property tax that they also have to pay for. They've got things like PMI. If you don't put, like, I think it's 20% deposit, you then have to pay for I think private something insurance that they then have to pay for the bank extra, along with their mortgage. So there's things like that where it's like the costs just continue to build up. So yeah, it's quite difficult. Thank you for talking for us. Yeah, thank you for your time. I'm paying off debt, saving side by side. Yep, I only have 3,000 student loans. I will have to pay it off earlier because the interest is increasing quickly. Decided I'll pay it off. Yeah, if that's the case, and you might be on plan 1 then, for example, so it might make sense to just pay it off. Time travelers from the 70s. Yeah, we're definitely not at that point. But yeah, guys, I think I'm going to leave it there, because it's almost 8 o'clock. But thank you guys for showing up. The one thing I did want to mention is I do have an announcement coming this week, because yeah, I'm going to finally be launching something really exciting. So I just want to make sure that you guys know that, and I will put it on my community post and probably on like a few of my videos as well. But yeah, I really hope you guys enjoy your evening. It was lovely chatting to you, and yeah, we will speak soon. I will try to be a lot more consistent with my lives, because I know I've been flopping a little bit. But yeah, see you guys soon, and have a good evening. Bye.